All right, so we have 1 minute left. And that's 5 minutes. So we are going to invite first the opening statements from the pro side of commercial exploitation in the Antarctica must be allowed for companies. So whenever you're ready, I'm going to start the 4 minutes.
Can the other team who's not speaking turn off their camera and turn off their microphone so that the judges can focus on the people who are speaking?
Okay, dear jury, dear team Gayamun, I'm speaking for the team Questionable Arguments, and I'm Jakob, and my teammates are Ecem and Elija. I think I'm speaking for more than us when I say that this Earth's resources are coming to an end. But how do we tackle this problem? Antarctica is one of the solutions. Antarctica can provide us with fresh water, minerals, hydrocarbons, a place for geothermal, solar and wind energy. But not only that, it can also provide us with cures for diseases, could help us to advance our compounds and agriculture. Firstly, the issue of decreasing fresh water all around the world. Antarctica could solve this problem for us, since the ice is made of fresh water and the amount of water stored in the ice in Antarctica strongly outweighs the water the human needs. Furthermore, economists state that ice utilization would be a cheap method of water supply, which would increase the significance for developing countries, since they are often affected from water scarcity and they need a cheap source to find fresh water. Secondly, the issue of decreasing oil and gas deposits. As oil and gas deposits are really coming to an end, but their significance must be emphasized, since they provide us with half our energy for around the world. It has been indicated that by 2060 our gas and oil deposits will be completely depleted, and therefore Antarctica could be a solution again. In Antarctica there are more than 200 billion barrels of oil stored, which is more than Kuwait and the United Arab Emirates together. To further emphasize the importance of oil, I would like you to look around you. Everything that is made of or contains plastic depends on oil. Therefore, the importance of oil, or Antarctic oil, cannot be stressed enough, since it would slow down the decrease of oil deposits and would prevent a crisis for the energy sector, but for the whole world. Thirdly, due to the amount of unique organisms in Antarctica, this could be used as a cure for diseases and to advance our technologies and agriculture. The process in question is called bioprospecting, which uses plants and animals to find medicine, chemicals and compounds. One example or two could be morphine and aspirin, which were found using this technique. Therefore, as the flora and fauna of Antarctica has so many opportunities for us to advance our technology, our medicine, our agriculture, we should be able to use this diversity to our advantage. Lastly, Antarctica provides us with an ideal place for solar and wind energy. Antarctica is the windiest place on Earth, with wind averaging around 100 miles per hour. Furthermore, in Antarctica, from October till February, the sun never sets, basically. And this could be the ideal place, quite important since renewable energies gain more and more relevance as time goes, and oil and gas deposits deplete. To conclude, the opportunities that Antarctica provides us here for humans are of great significance. They not only provide the industrial states with opportunities, they also provide the developing countries to advance and prosper. We therefore strongly recommend that Antarctica should be commercially utilized. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to now invite the first speaker from Gayamun to give the con arguments and the opening statement. So whenever you're ready, I'll start the timer.
Yeah, 1 second. Okay. Yeah, we can. So, the jury, my name is Sarah, and I'm speaking on the behalf of Gayamun with my fellow debaters, Vanesa and Haris. So, firstly, what I would like to mention is, even though the opposition has said some really good prepared facts, it is undeniable to say that those facts are irrelevant in this case. And that is because there's a much bigger issue, much important issue, which prevails the before mentioned arguments from the opposition. Firstly, I would like to address the opposition side, and that is, if we look at the resource crisis, it is true, we acknowledge it, it's happening. The point is, Antarctica isn't the only one place who has a lot of resources such as oil. The problem is, in this case, how accessible it is. We can find oil in the ocean, we can find oil in other countries. The point is how accessible it can be. So let's not stir into the conversation about if Antarctica is the only one left land with resources, because that's not true. It's about how accessible it can be. Additionally, if we will be talking about the resources and about which my team would like to address is also the economy, is if we would take a ballot of oil from Antarctica, it will be precisely as it is stated in the researches. It will be the cost of one ballot will be precisely something around $100, whereas nowadays one ballot costs $50 approximately. It's around 48 something. So that will also be a huge economical crisis if we would just dig in for those resources. Following up with the other motions and my other reasons is that it should not be also allowed for several other huge reasons, such as climate changes. Even though we acknowledge the fact that this card has been used very much too often, it is supposed to acknowledge that really our planet is dying. And we as humans, the inhabitants of the Mother Nature, are helping the process. We're not stopping the process, but we're just helping it by letting the companies go to an untouched place, which can restore its nature by itself, the only one place which is untouched by humankind. This is the time where we should help each other, because if we don't have a planet, we don't have to think about economy, we don't have to think about resources, because that wouldn't be here without a planet. We wouldn't be standing here without a planet. So by destroying something just because we just found out that it has a lot of resources, it's just no point, because we just need to find more accessible resources, which cost less more money, less more time, and it's more efficient than it is right now. For example, Antarctica. Also, what I would like to mention is, if we talk about the resources, it is important also to mention that a resource called uranium is found also in Antarctica. If we acknowledge the fact that the companies will be there, and some certain countries with great leaders, with great power, will try to obtain the uranium, what can happen? Okay, we can think like nothing can happen, all right? It's just uranium, it's just a basis for nuclear power. Why not? Why not just let them go and just take it for nothing? But with extra resources of the biggest killing machine in the world, this will mean the greatest scenario will be just a small threat to to the whole political situation and to our human safety, right? But the point is, we had much too much crisis about nuclear powers, too much arguments about nuclear powers, and by providing them a place which contains a lot of uranium, as it is shown by the scientific facts that it's done, or does it mean? Oh, okay.
You can.
Oh, so my last question is. Oh, okay. To wrap up everything. That is why we have an Antarctic Treaty. We clearly express the concern of the uranium. And the final question is the exploitation of Antarctica for companies much more important than the actual safety of all mankind? Thank you so much for the floor.
Thank you. Okay, so we will now move on to the rebuttal round. Now we will go back to the pro side and give your first rebuttal. You will have 2 minutes. Once you start speaking, I'll start the timer.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, I want to thank the Gayamun team for their arguments. And I would like to start with the point that you touched upon, where you said, where you mostly touched upon the oil and gas. So first of all, yeah, we agree upon that we need the oil and gas, and we know that we're almost like they're almost exhausted. But we mostly want to touch upon the fresh water source, which we can actually get it from Antarctica with actually really with cheap purposes. So. Antarctica has a lot of, as we all know, Antarctica has a lot of potential sources, natural sources. But the most important thing, the one is the fresh water. So based on the scholars' writing and the article, they're saying that we're almost exhausted from the water sources. And as we all know, like from right now, a lot of people around the world are having problems with finding fresh waters. So we touched upon the fact that the global iceberg supply strongly outweighs the human demand. Antarctic iceberg production is estimated at 1,250 kilometers per year. So this is actually equivalent to 1,250 billion water per year. So the extent to which natural process would be affected due to the removal of icebergs is minimal. And also the modeled economics of iceberg utilization indicate a surprisingly cheap method of water supply. Power from icebergs can be harnessed using ice tech. It's a theory which is 1 million ton icebergs would be able to support a lot of energy. We could also get a lot of energy from it with using the icebergs we already have. And also, it based on the scholars' writing, it doesn't actually makes a lot of damage with the new technology developed. So we would like to mostly touch upon the water source more than oil and gas. But also, of course, oil and gas are
Sorry, the time is really over. I don't know if you could see my screen. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I gave you like an extra 15 seconds, but I think that's quite a lot now. You can wrap up.
I just want to wrap up with saying, yeah, we know that like people exist. So now that we exist and we're in the planet, we have to keep living. We have to keep survive. So in that sense, we have to actually find sources and we have to use them in order to live. So that's why I want to ask, why not use sources in Antarctica when the extent to which natural process would be affected due to the removal of icebergs is minimal? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We will go back to the con arguments. This is going to be your second rebuttal or the first rebuttal. So once you're ready, you can start.
Okay, thank you. Firstly, I would like to thank you for the question, because indeed the water resource is one of the most important facts that you can state. But in this case, it is inappropriate, as my colleague said. We are facing a climate change. Even though the fresh water in Antarctica is which is in bigger the world's ice, the 90% of the world's ice in the Antarctic. There is a survey that scientists claim that if the West Antarctic ice sheet were to melt, it would raise global sea level approximately with about 16 feet. Can you imagine what will happen then? Furthermore, indeed, like, the water is really important right now, but why we don't question the world leaders? Why did they do something to, to provide with water those who's in need? Even though the climate change is a thing, as I said, but what about the plastic in the water? Do you think that the water in the Antarctic is not affected by it? Because I don't think so. The war with plastic is really common nowadays, and it's spread so, like, everywhere. So as I already mentioned, the climate change is the bigger problem here, and I think that are way more important ways to provide water to those in need. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We will go back to the pro-arguments from questionable arguments, and this will be your last rebuttal round. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, just to touch up on the plastic in the water. Just to say, the ice in Antarctica is over 1 million years old to some extent. So there's a pretty high chance that there will be no plastic in the water there. Furthermore, the models that economists made and scientists, how we provide developing countries with fresh water, especially those in Africa and Asia, the most cheap model is using ice. Naturally, there comes a problem with transportation, but there are already large vessels who are capable of providing those amounts of ice and therefore water to those countries. On your second point, that world leaders should provide an opportunity for those developing countries, I have to say, we have a trend that this world is going back to nationality. And I think those countries that are developing, they shouldn't be left alone with their issues. They are often in a deep financial crisis, or they have no means to actually provide scientists with the resources to do their research on other options to gain water. Therefore, the importance of water from gaining from Antarctica is immense. Secondly, if we use the ice in Antarctica, we are not going to support the rising of sea levels, since we are using it for to drink, for production, for everything else, but just to let it sit in the sea. We are actively obtaining it and bringing it on land as water. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to the last rebuttal from the Gayamun team.
I believe that the fact that the opposition is trying to tell us that they have a plan to take ice and make it into fresh water, it sounds like they are trying to obscure the field, because the fact of the matter is the climate, first of all, for mining is uninhabitable. is unlivable. Second of all, there is no suitable technology yet to mine in the Antarctic. I don't know how they are planning on making this technology, but it's not yet available to us. Third of all, the cost of all this planning about the extra ships and mining in the Antarctic, according to economists, is gonna cost way more than it's actually gonna save into fresh water. And lastly, the Antarctic and Antarctica is way too far away from any industrialized area around the world. So you're talking about trying to bring water and ice to places that are not that don't have the technology available to then spread it around the world. So it doesn't make sense to me. Furthermore, we're talking about a place that has no government, no actual leaders there. So we are actually saying we're gonna just open the floodgates for a second gold rush for every big country trying to get to Antarctica, get uranium, oil. You're talking like you're trying to allow a third world war. It sounds completely irrational. We are. Who is gonna stop a country like Russia or America or North Korea from going there, mining some uranium, and then running away? I don't understand. That's my rebuttal. I'm finished.
Thank you very much. Now it is time for the closing remarks. So it is free for each team to choose who is gonna give a closing remark for 2 minutes. We're going to start with questionable arguments.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Team Gayamun, for providing all those also very good arguments. I want to close with still touching up on the water topic, because we are talking about war right now, and future wars will not be fought about oil anymore as they were before. They will be fought about water, and therefore, we need sources that provide as many people as possible with fresh water. And as we said, the Antarctica is a comparably very cheap and very extensive source of fresh water, which could really prevent the world from going into a water crisis and going to a war over water. Furtherly, as we touched up on also on the topic of bioprospecting, this technique of using the Antarctic's own techniques of providing life in extreme circumstances should be used to implement it for our own goods, to provide as much good for the world as possible, to provide as many solutions to the diseases that we have. And also this technique is not, since it's only concerns or mostly concerns bacterials, for example, taking bacterials from Antarctic sources would not have a huge impact on the environment of the Antarctic itself. And as we said, also to say again that the sea levels would rise. We use the water to prevent deserts from coming into being. Therefore, I would close to saying that we should use Antarctic sources to bring more good to the world.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And now the final closing remarks from Gayamun.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I would like to say that because of the opposition was said that it will not create a war, because we will not be fighting anymore about oil, but we will be fighting about water. That's an assumption which, please, let's not take into consideration, because a war can exist from everything and from nothing. The point is, there is no government, as my fellow delegate has stated. That is a huge mistake to let companies go there and start mining, because there will be states with great power which will be trying to have more land than the other. We have to look at any kind of consequences which can happen from such situation, and that's the important case. Of course, we want to help people who are in need with water, but how can we help them if we will be having a third world war? we will not have a crisis of water if we will all gonna. It's a bad assumption to die, but I mean, or a harsh one, but that's how it is. We have to take a look at every kind of possibility which can happen, and this is the possibility which we are facing: uranium, nuclear powers, states trying to fight about territories, about who gets much more land, about who gets which kind of power, who will be leading, where will be the taxation going, who will pay for them, how much will the ballot of oils, like the cost. It will not only destroy our economical side of the global side of our world, but it also will destroy our safety, and it will threaten our safety. That is why also, as was always said, and we have also already mentioned, that there is a treaty which we should be obliged to and do so how it's stated. And I think, and I share the opinion, that we still cannot talk about water if there is human life threatened. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and that concludes the debating round for this topic. I would like to give a couple of minutes to the judges if they want to think about what has been said, and hopefully provide some feedback if you want. Otherwise, we will go into the deliberation for the judges to give point allocations, which will be released tomorrow. So I'll open the floor to the judges now for any that wish to give some feedback to our debaters.
Sandra, would you like to go first?
You can have the floor, Dave. Then I follow. It's fine.
Okay. Well,
you.
I'd like to thank all the participants. It's been a pleasure to watch and to participate as a member of the jury. It's a privilege. You spent clearly quite an amount of work in preparing all of this. I hear many facts I didn't know of, so I learned a great deal. Well done. I think for all of you, it is challenging to speak to a screen and then to have to debate people elsewhere without really seeing them live. So I think the circumstances are really challenging for you, but I think you pulled it off. So without going too much into detail on any specific participants, I just wanted to say that I enjoyed it, and perhaps a few remarks. I was struck a little, perhaps because of my background, by the arguments. I think the argument was very strong in social terms and in other terms, but I was only, passing reference to the Antarctic Treaty, but not much more. Yeah, I was happy to hear all of you.
So I don't know. Can I go, Michael? It's fine with you that I take the word from.
Please do. Please do.
Yes, thank you. So it's a pleasure to be here with you in a topic which I find highly interesting. So thank you for the invitation. I agree with my colleague that I could see that you have put a lot of effort on that. And I saw from both sides pushing on the direction that they wanted to. So from questionable argument, going to the exploration, so exploitation more broader than mining, because mining actually would be, let's say, difficult to defend in the sense that with all the pressure, with the environmental problems that we have. So it was a smart way of trying to put this actually as a positive side with possibilities of renewable energy and so on and so forth. On the other hand, it was also good for the Gayamun also to bring that, okay, let's look at the moment what are the consequences that we could have and the pressure that actually it could bring to this ecosystem. So I think that both sides could bring very interesting arguments. Overall, I think if I could then give a piece of advice would be actually on the rebuttals, really use what has been said by your opponent so that you can build and really, let's say, deconstruct the argument that has been brought to you. And maybe sometimes it can be even stronger than bringing new arguments. So showing that actually the argument that was brought before is actually, so that would be overall. I think you had also a good connection with the climate change and also with the plastic problem. It was interesting to see how you connected all this. Yes, so that's would be what I would give for you all today. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me and see me clearly. Well done. It is a difficult topic, and you have done a very, very good job. So you should feel very happy about it. For me, what was a bit interesting to notice was that with very, very, very limited exceptions, practically everybody was over time. So may I invite you to please consider the possibility of keeping your statements short. The shorter the better. There was also a lot of use of rhetorical question. Do you really think we should do this? Do you really think we should do that? I liked it, but sometimes try not to overdo it. If you ask the rhetorical question at the end of your argument, make a meaningful pause, and then continue, that's fine. If you keep on repeating it again and again, the audience will lose interest. Overall, this is a very difficult exercise because you have to do it in front of a camera, and I appreciate that the absence of an audience can be more relaxing and soothing, but at the same time it presents its own difficulties. So I do appreciate the particular difficulties involved in this, and I want to tell you that for me it will be very difficult to find a clear winner, because I don't think that it is easy to say that is a clear winner or that is a clear winner, the pros and cons. I think that it is a very close contest between the two teams.
Thank you very much to all three judges for not only taking the time to participate, but also to want to give feedback to our participants. And I hope that it was useful to them and that they'll take this on to the next round, whoever is selected as the winner. So the next steps are, what the next steps are going to be is that the judges will have all of today, or the rest of today and most of tomorrow, to give a point allocation to the two teams, and from that they'll select one winner, which we will be publicly announcing along with the other matches that are going on now. And after that, we will make an announcement further on to announce the next topic for the next round. And I wish you all much good luck, and thank you again for signing up and wanting to participate, even with it being held entirely online. We really appreciate the enthusiasm, and I hope that regardless of the circumstances, it has been enjoyable and fun and something different for you guys to do. So yeah, I wanted to thank you again for signing up, and I wish you good luck. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for organizing it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Have a good evening. Bye.
You too. Bye.